Over the last couple of months, we have gotten so many commanders, it is hard to keep track with. So now it is time to talk about the best Murderball lineups, your best 5 March, your best 6 March, your best 7 March. I'm going to keep this clean and easy. I'm going to have chapters at the bottom. You can skip around to what you want. I'm going to go through different scenarios. We're going to do this all real time, and we're going to show you what the best way to run your 5, 6, and 7 Marches right here. So stick around while we get you set up to be the best you can be when it comes to running your murder ball. Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chadsky, and I do content for Rise of Kingdoms constantly, all the time, and love doing this content. And this is the type of video that we love to do after we get commanders in the game for the field, and we test them out, we see what they do, we see how they work, and then we can go tell you like, hey, what's the best way to run some of these things, okay? If you like these kind of videos, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, really helps out the channel, helps out the videos. Also, if you're not subscribed, consider doing so, and hit that bell if you want to get any alerts for this type of content. And so from that kind of situation to where I'm getting asked all the time, like, Chadsky, I've got 3 infantry, 1 cav, 1 archer. Chadsky, I've got 2 infantry, I've got 3. Do I go to 3 calves, or I've got 2 calves? What do I do? And I love answering these questions. Join my Discord, because that's where a lot of these conversations come into play. But it's now time to say, okay, you're running 5 marches, this, depending on how you're running it, here's what you can do, okay? And that's what I wanted to do, and keep it clean and easy. We're gonna work off a tier list. We're gonna do it real time, so I'll move things around to tell you, hey, if you don't have this commander, if you don't have that commander, this is how you run it. If you run this many calves, or this many infantry, or this many archers, this is how to run it. So with that, we have new commanders in the game, obviously, okay? Gang came in the game just before the turn of the year in 2025. We've got Achilles, same way, just a cracked, broken commander. You got Hector, who is now in the game, that serves as kind of a utility. You can put him in a lot of different places. And probably the most popular commander ever in the game of Rise of Kingdoms is Sun Tzu. And the reason why is because we had an epic version of him in KVK1. It takes everybody, it's nostalgia. It takes everybody back to how things were working back in the game when they played K1 and K2, and he's just still a great commander for an epic version. Well, now we got his prime version, and it's cracked, y'all. I mean, it is reaching 10 levels of power. Just absolutely crazy what Sun Tzu does. So with that, this is the first time ever that I am going to stick with the murder ball, and I am not going to include skill damage commanders, okay? The game has signaled to us how they're gonna do this thing and how they want to be able to specify that smite is for infantry, combo is for calves. And you can use our boy Ragnar and CPO, no problem. Okay, you can put those in for some of these Murderball lineups I've got as kind of a placeholder. You can do the same thing with like a Huo Joan or a Nevsky Joan. I get it. I understand. And I understand why people still have this stuff. But the future of the game, they're not going to magically make a skill damage formation, which they've alluded to that they're going to put out. They're not going to magically make a skill damage formation that's going to all of a sudden make Ragnar OP meta again. I mean, it's just not going to happen, guys. I hate to tell you that, and honestly, I hate it for a lot of players who invested a lot of stuff when it comes to this. But let's really think about this. You know, Huo's a 2.5-year-old commander. Joan's a 3-year commander. Nevsky's almost a 4-year commander. I mean, these are old commanders, okay? And they've been relevant in the game for a long time, but now we're just getting to a point now to where they've signaled it. They've even converted a few commanders like CJ and Bert over to the troop types. And so I am not going to include infantry skill damage and cavalry skill damage in the Murderball lineups. However, again, you can still run those. You can still run those as a placeholder, but you got to move over. Eventually, you got to move some of these things, because here's what happens. Even if you have like cracked stuff for, let's say you've got this set right here and you don't have the conversion stones to move it over, okay? The way that they're making Delta and the way that they're making pincer for cavalry and infantry, you can literally like have an armament set that's nowhere near as good if you can't convert this over. And because of the commander power creep, and because of what they're doing with these new commanders like Sun Tzu and like Arthur and Gang and Achilles and, you know, all these crazy good commanders, you don't have to have the crazy armament. So it's almost better to just, you know, move over what you can, invest what you can, and leave this and go run Delta, because the commander power creep is just out of control. And eventually you're going to move everything over to different formation types to be able to satisfy the pincer roll with the smite on infantry, and then the delta roll with the combo on cavalry. So with that, that's how the murder ball thing is going to be put out. I am not going to include Ragnar. I'm not going to include any skill damage for infantry and cavalry, and you can always use it as a placeholder. I get it, but we're talking new meta. We're talking about the future. We're talking about how to set up your marches and project into the future, and that's how we are going to do it too. So with that being said, let's just jump into this thing and let's keep this thing nice and easy. All right, I'm gonna have this thing at the top. This is your 5 March murder ball, okay? And we'll go through all the different scenarios. And listen, it is completely up to opinion. You guys can do whatever you want. This is the stuff that I've seen. This is the stuff that I like to run. This is the stuff that I've seen works exceptionally well. In an unlimited setup, okay, right now, the meta, the absolute best to run right now is you run your Chen with either Zuge or YSG, however you want to run that. They're both exceptional. Okay, I like the YSG for damage. The Zuge might do a little bit better in reports, and because you got a debuff from Zuge, a lot of people like that. But that's the first and foremost. Lock it, set it, forget it. That's what you're running for archers, okay? Sorry, archers. That's the only March you get in the 5 March lineup, okay? Then you come into what I would do in an unlimited situation. We are seeing so many, and let me come down here and just make these a little bit bigger. We are seeing so many crazy reports from Sun Tzu with Wallace. Now, do I think that that's like best to run Sun Tzu? No. I mean, you could run Sun Tzu and BQ, be amazing. Sun Tzu and Luce is just crushing it. But all 3 of them are doing exceptional behind Sun Tzu. But in a 5 March Murderball lineup, I'm going to run Sun Tzu with Wallace, okay, and then keep my BQ and Luce. BQ and Luce still like one of the top 3 or 4 marches in the game. Just incredible. Okay, so that's how I would run that. I've encouraged everybody to go to 2 smite marches. If you're running 1 smite and 1 skill damage, just change it over, guys. Even if you don't have the conversion stones and you have to keep a hunter sitting there, okay, you're ultimately going to do better by running 2 smite marches with Sun Tzu. I'm just telling you, that's just the way it is. And on the cavalry side, I'm a cav simp. These are the best 2 marches you're going to run for cavalry, straight up. You're going to run Arthur and Hector. Hector is proving to be amazing with Arthur, just amazing. And then you're going to run Gang and Achilles, okay? Arguably one of the best marches in the game. Gang Achilles, phenomenal synergies and all the different things. This is how I would run it. Unlimited 5 marches, that's how I'd run it. That's what I'm going to run when we go into KVK and I'm running 5 marches. A lot of times in zone 5s, I'll go the all damage route because I've got to, in the crystal tech, even though I'm a max tech player, I'll go the all damage route because I'm going to do a lot of rallying and garrisoning. And sometimes I don't get 6 marches. So I just run 5 in zone 5. And so this is what I would run, just absolutely unlimited. Now you can come in here a little bit and I'll just kind of scroll this thing up. Let me take this out. You can come in here a little bit and you can play with it. Okay. If you don't have Herman, then you enter with Philip. Or I'm sorry, if you don't have Hector here, then you can enter it with Philip. Arthur Philip, easy choice. Now, if you notice on my 5 March setup, I don't have Philip. And Philip kind of got pushed out of that 5 March lineup. But he's coming in. He's the next one to come in, guys, because he's still that good. And he buffs all your marches and does all those things. So Hector is more of a garrison type commander. A lot of people who have him, either you have a luxury to have him in the field or you're an infantry or cavalry garrison player and you got to have him. But many people don't have Hector. And so there you go. You put in Philip if you don't have Hector. Okay. And the next thing is people say, well, I don't have Gang. Like, what do I do if I don't have Gang, but I've got Achilles and I like running Arthur Achilles? Okay, there's a couple of things you can do, but my recommendation to do that is to go ahead and bring in the Arthur William and then run the Achilles with Philip. Achilles Philip is fantastic. It's great. Now, for me personally, if I did not have a situation to where I had gang gang, okay, so this is, for the record, this is without gang gang. All right, so if you don't have gang gang and you don't have Hector, this is what you're gonna run. Now, if you're like me and you're like, hey, I want to get Philip in the field, and then I've got Achilles, I'm gonna break my Arthur and Achilles up, you run Attila Achilles. Attila Achilles, guys, I am so close to recommending people to swap to Arch, because Attila Achilles is, I would put it up against any March in the game. Any March in the game, all things consistent. Like if you have a great Arch Cav armament setup, it's Attila Achilles, I'm telling you, is gonna do almost as good as your Chin March. That's how crazy good it is. But not a lot of players have that, not a lot of recommendations there. So if you don't have gang gang, here's the other thing that you can do. You can even run Attila Achilles with Delta, and it does really, really well. But if you've got Arch, it just unlocks it, man. It's just crazy. So those are your different options when it comes to the cavalry side of things. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that thing up here and put this here. Now, for you infantry players to say, I don't have Sun Tzu yet, what do? I don't care if you have Sun Tzu or not. You gotta go to 2 smite, guys. You just gotta do it, all right? Now, there's multiple ways you can do it, but this is what I ran last KVK and absolutely loved it. If you have the luxury of having Hector, then you can run it just like this. And I would rather put Luce with Philip than Luce with Alex, but I ran them both. There were a couple different ways to run that, okay? But if you don't have Hector, you got to move Philip with your cavalry, and then you got to bring in your Luce Alex. Still to this day, Luce Alex still pumping out the damage and doing exceptionally well. It does really, really well. It's no longer like a top 3, 4, 5 March, but it's really, really well. And in a 5 March setup without Sun Tzu, and you're running 2 smite, 2 pincers, that's how you want to run it. Okay. And then another thing with the Arch formation, a lot of people still have Luce Alex with Arch. If you're not a Garrison player, don't ever do that. Switch it to pincer. We just seen it. It's just math. The pincer on Luce and Alex always outperforms the Arch. It just always does. So get off of that. Now, if you're a Garrison player and you got to have it for your Garrison, your Gorgo anti-swarm Garrison, then it's completely acceptable to run Arch with Luce and Alex. But you don't have Hector and you don't have Sun Tzu, this is how I would run that setup, okay? So that's pretty much all the different scenarios that I would recommend. It's gonna be a 1-2-2 format. That's the way it's always gonna be. Now, if you said, Chatsky, I've got one Cav March, 1 Archer March, and 3 infantry marches. Okay, well, we got some work to do here. If you're running 1 Cav March, okay, it's going to be straight up Arthur and Achilles. That's like the best Cav March you can run. I think it's amazing. And so from that standpoint, it pumps out so much DPS. Okay, if you're fortunate enough to have a Hector, then you can run BQ with Hector. Okay, you can run Sun Tzu with Wallace, and then you can bring in your Luce and run Luce with Philip. Okay, that's 3 smite marches, and not just 3 smite marches. Those are 3 smite marches that have 5 smite commanders with 1 buffer, right? And so you can run that a bunch of different ways. You want to move Philip, you can use Alex there, however you want to do that. If you don't have Wallace here, or if you don't have Hector, which is very common, an easy way to do that, just go put CJ behind BQ. Works out exceptionally well. CJ is really, really good, especially when you're running all these smite marches. CJ will work really well. People don't understand. I love running CJ if I'm running a whole bunch of smite marches, but that's like a 3 infantry setup, okay? Now, if you're running 3 cavalry setup, oh boy, here's where it gets crazy, okay? And you're running 1 infantry setup. Now, this is gonna force me to put Sun Tzu with BQ, okay? And from there, you've also got BQ and LC. Now, a lot of you Cav players that are running 3 Cav marches might not have Sun Tzu, so you just run BQ LC. That's fine. These are completely comparable, all right? This might perform a little bit better with Sun Tzu BQ, but you've still got BQ Luce, and you can set it and forget it. because it's still so powerful and so strong, okay? Well, then if you're going to go with 3 cavalry, hey, yo, let's go do this, all right? First and foremost, you're going to run Hector with Arthur. Absolutely amazing, absolutely great. Then you're going to set this up to where you're going to run Gang with Achilles, okay? And then what I love to do, for those of you cavalry players, what I absolutely love to do, what you're going to do there is run Attila with David, okay? This is what I love to run when I run 3 cav marches. I love to run Attila David. The reason why David has that setup to where, and I'll put this back up here, David has that setup to where he's got the 40% debuff he puts on the target, and the target takes 40% more combo damage. Well, that's like a nuke. It's like a bomb goes off when you're hitting with Gang and Arthur Hector. So that's kind of my 3 cav lineup when I'm running the 5 March lineup. And so from there, we've done the 3 infantry, the 3 calves. I really don't suggest you go to a 2 archer lineup. But if you do, okay, let's look at it. Okay, if you go to a 2 archer lineup, let me just pull this thing down. And what I'd probably do with a 2 archer lineup is I would run that same setup that I had, okay, when it came to some of these commanders. I'd run William Wallace, and then I'd run BQ Luce, okay? And you want to run 2 archer commanders, so we're gonna go Chin with YSG, got to do that, and then we're gonna go Zuge with Herman, right? That's how you got it. That's like literally how you have to do that. And then from there, we're gonna take this out. We're probably going to bench to go one of the calves, and if you just run 1 calves, you got to make it pretty simple and easy. It's going to be Arthur with Achilles. You run 2 infantry with that, and that's how you set up your 2 archers 5 March setup. I'd run 2 archers, 2 infantry, 1 cap. That's how I would do that, okay? But I don't suggest it. I don't recommend it. Let me bring all this down, and we'll get back to running how I think you ought to run it. It should be just like this. We're going to put this here. We're going to put this here. We're going to pull this down. We're going to put this here. And this is the best way I would run your 5 marches, just as a quick review, okay? So that's your setup with 5 marches. That's my recommended 2-2-1 setup with 1 archer. And that's how I would do it. All in on smite, all in on combo, and we go, okay? So from there, we're going to go to 6 marches, okay? This is one of those that we get into where now things start opening up a little bit. When you go to 6 marches, all right, this is how I would typically run this. Before I would add a 2nd archer march, because it's just getting wrecked and beat up, okay? Let's talk about running the same setup with 3 infantry. And it's going to be a lot kind of like what we talked about. We'll just move this thing down, all right? And with that, you put CJ up here, and then you can go back and run your Luce with Alex. Or what I like to run better is to run your Luce with your Phillips. And from there, you want to run your Luce with Philip. Where's that thing at? Here it is. That's probably what I'd like to run more of. But if you have Alex, you don't want to run CJ, then you pull this down and then you go into your BQ with Philip, and that's how you do your 6 March lineup. If I was running 6 March lineup today and I had to run 3 infantry, that's how I would run it, okay? Now, let's think about running a 6 March lineup with the 3 cavalry. It's going to be pretty similar to what we had talked about. We're going to pull this down. We're going to bring in BQ and Luce. We're going to pull this down. We're going to run the Arthur with Hector. Then I'm gonna pour in my 3 combo, which 3 combo means I'm gonna run Attila with David. That's how I'm gonna do that, okay? If you don't want to run it that way and you want to run it kind of a different way and you want to split up maybe a Gang and Achilles, you could do all kinds of different stuff. You could run like Gang with something else, but more importantly, this is what I like to run. Now, if you want to get Philip involved in this and you don't have Hector, you can either do this right here. You can put the Arthur Philip right there and you're cooking, you're good to go. Or if you have Hector or you want to run an Attila and you don't have David, you could easily run it with Attila Philip. All right. You could pull this down. You could go ahead and run your Arthur with William, and that's how you could do your 3 cav lineup. Okay, so we reviewed 3 cav, 2 infantry, 1 archer, 3 infantry, 2 cav, 1 archer. Now we'll go to a 2-2-2 setup, okay? And it's really pretty simple, all right? You pull this down and pull this down, and we're gonna go to an Arthur Hector situation. We're gonna run Gang with Achilles. We're gonna run Sun Tzu with William Wallace, and we're going to run BQ and Luce, and then from there we're going to go to our, let's see, where is our Chen with YSG, and then we're going to go to our Zuge with Herman. Okay, that's how you're going to set it up. Pretty simple stuff. I mean, there's not a lot of argument here. That's how you run your 2-2-2 setup. I do not advise anybody to run 3 archers right now. Just don't do it. I'm not going to touch the Ragnar stuff. I'm not going to touch the Hugo cavalry skill damage stuff. So I'm not going to touch the 3 infantry stuff. Not doing that. Okay, so that kind of gives you your setup for 6 marches. It works out really, really well, okay? Now, let's go to 7 marches, all right? And we'll do this all kind of in real time so we can kind of get it all together. Get it together. Okay, so let me pull this down. Let me pull this down. Let me leave these 2 here, and it's going to be the same kind of concept if you want to run 3 infantry with a 2-2 setup of archers and cavalry. And to do that, obviously you could do it a couple of different ways. You could run the BQ Philip with Elsie and Alex. If you want to make sure and get Philip on the field and you want to get CJ on the field, you could run it just like this, pull this down, then run your Luce with Philip, and you could run it like that. Okay, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, and that's probably the most common way that people are going to be able to run it, or they're going to run it with the BQ Philip and the LC Alex. Really simple way to do that. That's a great 7 march setup with 3 infantry marches. Keep it simple, y'all. That's the best way to do it. Okay, now, not saying you can't run Sun Tzu with others, or if you would rather run like a William Wallace Luce march, you can do that. Or if you don't have Sun Tzu, you don't need to be running 3 infantry, okay? So now let's go to 3 calves. Let's do that. Let's pull this down. Let's run our best 2 infantry marches, which is going to be, those are your best 2 archer marches here with Chen and YSG, and Zuge with Herman. Those are your best 2 infantry marches with Zuge, or I'm sorry, with Sun Tzu and Wallace, and then BQ Luce. And then you go to 3 calves. Like you said, this is how I would love to run it. You run this with, there he is, with my David. Okay, that's how I would run the 3 calves in a 7 march lineup. That's literally gonna be my Murderball setup when I fight next KVK. Before we had Sun Tzu, I ran BQ with Wallace, and then I ran Luce with Philip. That's how I did that. Pretty easy, and sometimes I even ran it just like this, where I would put this down. I would do a couple of different things and run, let's see how I did it last KVK. Where's my BQ with CJ? Did I have that? Yeah, there it is. Okay. I would run BQ with CJ, or I'm sorry, BQ with Wallace. Where's that thing at? My BQ and Wallace. Did I have it? There it is. I would run BQ and Wallace, still a phenomenal march. I would put Alex behind Luce, and then I would go put Philip behind my Sun Tzu. I would literally go run my Philip behind my Sun Tzu, and it would work out pretty well. Let me just add them here because I think I've got them. my Sun Tzu with Philip, or I'm sorry, my Zuge with Philip. Let me add that here. There we go. And I would run it just like this because my Zuge was getting killed so much. So that's how I would run it sometimes last KVK without Sun Tzu. All right. Sorry for the confusion there, but that's how I would do it. Okay, so if you're going to run calves, all right, there's another way you can do this if you don't have Hector. First of all, let me get back here and let me put this back down here. Let me put back up the Zuge with Herman. All right, let me pull this down here. Let me put up the Sun Tzu. Let me pull this down here. Let me put up the BQ and Luce. All right, so if you don't have David and you want to run 3 combo, okay, the best way to do that is just run that Attila with Philip. That's the best way to do that. Okay, and so there you go. If you don't have David, you could run it like that. If you don't have Hector or David, all right, you're not really a garrison commander, then I would run it just like, where is this? Just like this, okay? Bring in the William, run Arthur with William the Conqueror, run Gang and Achilles, and run Attila with Philip. That's how I do it, okay? So we've gone through the 3 infantry, we've gone through the 3 calves, okay? That's pretty much how I would run it. I would not run 3 archers. That's not that would not be the way I would do it. If you want to go, okay, this is very important, because if you say, Chadsky, you know what, to hell with it. And let me show you guys a little something here. If you say, Chadsky, I'm going to run all smite and all combo. I'm going to switch my civilization to the Mayans, and I'm going to go take archer defense, which you're not really too concerned about, but I'm going to go take 3% normal damage. For a setup of 7 marches where you're almost running all smite and combo, you can run 3% normal damage. I'm going to test this next KVK because it's like 3% all damage. It's crazy how that thing works out. All right. And so when we look at this and we want to say, hey, I am running, and this is what I will probably run next KVK, because I really do not want to run 2 archer marches until we get the next archer out. I would probably run it like this. I'd probably pull this down. Where is my BQ? If I had all of my druthers to run BQ with Philip and then to run Luce with Alex, I would run it like this, but then I would pull this down and I would run this. And then let me see here. My Attila has got to have David, and then my Arthur is going to have Hector. Okay, that is one way you can do it. But if you're going to go with more smite and you just want more smite commanders, you're like, Chatsky, I got 3 pincer formations. I really want to run multiple smite. Well, then this is the best way to do it. So if you want to run that 3 combo with 3 infantry, 3 calves, and 1 archer march, and you want to go all in on smite and combo, I would probably take my Luce Philip. I love putting Philip behind Luce, but I want to run more smite, okay? And that means I've got to put BQ and CJ in the game, all right? So just to review how this is going to work. If you're gonna run Mayan, right, and you're gonna go all in on smite and combo, you want to get as many smite and combo commanders in the field as you can. Okay, we have 2 here, smite. You have 2 smite here. You have 1 smite here with a buffer. Okay, so that's 5 smite commanders. Same thing down here. Arthur, Hector, Gang with Achilles, and Attila with David. You have 5 combo here, okay, with Attila. Attila loves normal damage, so give it to him. And then you can get crazy with your Chen. Now, Chen Zuge or Chen YSG is always going to do better and trade better. However, all of a sudden now, and I've hinted that I can do this, and I even tried it out in the Strife, you go put Chen with Shajar, and this is your psycho normal damage, all smite, all combo 7 march setup. And here's the reason why, okay? When you look at this overall, the only reason why you would do this is because Shajar has this really interesting buff that she does. Where is my Shajar? She's around here somewhere. Let me find her. She's got this really interesting buff she does on her expertise, right? Her expertise, you're gonna heal 3 troops, yourself and 2 other marches every active skill. You put her behind Chen, and he's firing off every 4 to 5 seconds, because we know Chen, he fires off so fast. Well, if you're gonna heal every 4 to 5 seconds, then you're gonna get this buff to 2 other marches every 4 to 5 seconds. That is massive uptime, because there's no cooldown on this, okay? And you're gonna be able to give 20% more normal damage to 2 other marches in this lineup. So basically, you're setting it up to where whatever marches you're gonna give that normal damage buff to is just gonna take it, and it's like all damage for them. It's crazy. It's crazy. So you're only doing 1 skill damage commander with Chen. So this is just a psycho normal damage setup. Run Mayan, run Chen with Shajar, Sun Tzu and Wallace smite, BQ and CJ smite, Luce and Philip. Then you got Arthur with Hector, Gang Gang Achilles, and Attila with David. If you don't have David, you can put Hector behind Hector behind Attila, and Arthur with like William Wallace or something. Or you could put Arthur with Philip and then put Luce with Alex. You can kind of get a little bit, makeshift there. So with that, if you guys have any questions, this is really important. I want you to get down in the comments and fire up those comments. We can talk about all this, or go into the Discord and just tag me in there. I ain't hard to find, y'all. I'm always in my Discord, always responding to people, always helping people out. And that's what I love to do. And so with that, I truly hope you guys enjoyed this video, okay? It helps us out a ton. If you'll throw a like on here, it would be great. Get the likes going. If you have not subscribed, like I said, consider doing so. Really helps out the channel. I wanted to make this simple and easy. Yeah, I gave you 2-2-1 setups for the 5. I gave you the 2-2-2 setups for 6, 2-3-2 setups, or 1-3-2. I gave it all. And so you can skip around and find out what you liked. And with that, I hope you have a great day, broskies.